Greetings, National Baptist Convention USA Incorporated family. You know what? This is a webinar about mental health in our church ministries. Let me get comfortable here. Let me take off this tie and this jacket. All right. Now, that's better. We want to talk this afternoon about mental health in our congregations, especially during this COVID-19 pandemic. We begin today by acknowledging our national leaders, our president, Dr. Jerry Young, who encourages us daily to envision the future exceptionally. Our General Secretary, Dr. Alvin Edwards, our Faith-Based Development Initiative Chair, Dr. Alvin Love. Yours truly, Michael O. Minor, the National Director of the NBC USA, U.S. Department of Health and Human Services Partnership. And of course, all of our Hope NBC USA team. Welcome. We're excited today to share during our annual session. We're fortunate today to have a number of our team members right there in the chat, there to field any questions that you may have and provide additional information. Today's webinar is taking a different spin on mental health in our congregations. You know, I know you're expecting to have, for us to have a couple of psychologists or psychiatrists here talking about this, that, and the other from maybe a more scientific medical perspective. But instead, we thought we would do two parts. First, looking at diagnosing, seeing the signs of mental health issues in our congregations. And the second part, we'll talk about mental health and physical fitness. A lot different than what you expected. All right, so we're going to begin the session today with Sister Bettina Campbell. And let me just say a thing or two about Sister Bettina Campbell. Sister Bettina Campbell is our NBC USA National Mental Health A Better Way Coordinator. She comes with a lot of experience, lots of experience. She's the founder and executive director emeritus of Your Center in Detroit, Michigan. She co-authored a chapter and the social work and health settings practice in context, the 3rd edition. It was talking about the faith-based community and HIV/AIDS. She has over 35 years of experience as a clinical social worker, and she's done on a variety of prevention and care services for Black youth and their family. 20 years of experience providing HIV and other sexually transmitted infections care and prevention services. 10 years of experience collaborating with the Prevention Research Center there in Michigan. I work with the Genesee County Health Department and other local organizations there, all around the concept of community-based participatory research on health-related disparities in Genesee County, Michigan. She received her master in social work from the University of Michigan, Ann Arbor. And I'm proud to say she is a member of the Hill Hernando Baptist Church, Hernando, Mississippi, where I am blessed to be the pastor. All right, so now you've seen the picture. Let's now hear the first part of today's webinar about diagnosing, finding the signs of mental health distress in our congregations. In this continuing COVID-19 pandemic environment, good mental health in our church families is a must. We have church family and blood family members, friends, co-workers that have died from the virus. Others have lost their jobs, homes, and even more during this pandemic. So today we want to share about mental health in the ministries in our congregations. And we're fortunate today to begin our discussion with Sister Bettina Campbell, our NBC USA Hope LMSW Mental Health A Better Way Coordinator.
Good afternoon.
Welcome.
Good afternoon, Dr. Miner, and thanks for this opportunity.
All right, we're glad to have you here, Sister Campbell. All right, let's just jump right on into this here today. So, Sister Campbell, is it true we're more likely to encounter a mental health crisis in our congregation and work than a heart attack or somebody choking?
Yes, 1 in 5 adults and 1 in 6 children ages 3 to 17 in any year will experience symptoms that are severe enough to qualify for a diagnosis of mental health illness.
Wow, that's something. Now, I hope y'all heard that are listening today, that mental health is more prevalent than what we think about other things like heart attack or choking. So, Sister Bettina, how do we start the conversation about mental health in our church families?
Well, Dr. Miner, you know that 1 in 4 persons sitting in our pews have a family member struggling with the mental health issues. And so it's important that we sort of start the conversation by reinforcing just how common this issue is. Secondly, it's important because 2/3 of the people who are suffering don't seek help at all. And when they do, they often seek it from their pastors or their spiritual leaders. And unfortunately, many of them have not been trained to provide the appropriate information and or resources. And so just because of the sheer prevalence, it's important to remind our church members and all of our listeners that this issue really affects all of us, our individual families, our workplaces, our schools, and our community.
Wow. And I know some of us in the in our congregation, we're quick to tell somebody we're going to pray for you, or you just pray. But we need to do more than that. So that's why this next question is going to help spur our conversation on even further. How do we spot the signs of mental illness in our congregation?
Well, you know, that can be tricky because the symptoms can mimic many other illnesses. However, just as the Heart Association has CBPR training, the American Stroke Association has the FAST campaign for strokes. We recommend that when recognizing the signs of mental health illness or trying to understand them, that we recommend that you use the mental health first aid trainings.
Wow. Mental health. Now, y'all hear that now? We talked about first aid. We know about first aid. We got first aid kits in that church and we cut ourselves, burn ourselves. Well, Sister Bettina's talking about mental health first aid. So, Sister Bettina, what is mental health first aid training?
Well, much like any other first aid course, that has the participants that go through, they learn a plan of action to be able to help someone who is injured or ill. Mental health first aid teaches the public how to recognize the symptoms of mental health problems, how to offer and provide initial help, how to guide a person toward appropriate treatment, and other supportive help. I think that it's important to say here that mental health first aid does not teach people to treat or diagnose mental health or substance use. Instead, the training teaches people how to offer initial support until appropriate professional help is received or until the crisis resolves.
But kind of like if somebody giving somebody CPR, they're not going to get in the way of the EMT. They're going to do that. Once the EMT comes in, then they step away. All right, that makes sense to me. So, yes. Sister Bettina, as you're talking to people about how to recognize problems, what are you telling them?
Well, one of the first things that mental health first aid teaches, which is really useful, is to look at observable behavior or actions. So you want to talk about those observable signs and how they affect their interaction with the church activities, including our virtual interactions and our Zoom and Facebook.
Wow. And, you know, I never thought about that on Zoom and Facebook, because I guess sometimes just when people are absent or the way they look or some of the comments they have could be telltale signs. We just don't pay attention to them. So that's important.
Well, you might want to go back to looking at those behaviors to notice that if they're say, for instance, they've been very constant in coming to service, and then all of a sudden they start skipping services. And you might want to just approach them and say to them, I've noticed that you're skipping services more often. And what I would like to know is there something that's concerning you or troubling you that we might be of some help to you? Okay. Or you might say, you know, they may have once been very involved and engaged in activities in the church, And you might say, I noticed that you've been more distant lately. Is something going on? Is there something that we need to do to help you? And just to open the door to get to talking to you about what's going on. So you can kind of make an assessment to see where we go from there.
Okay. All right. And intervention. And obviously, it depends on what the individual problem is. But are there any guidelines that we have that talks about how this intervention may take place?
Well, mental health first aid does offer this protocol that allows us to kind of walk through it. It's like a roadmap. It's a care plan, and it's called ALGE. And it's very helpful and for us to begin to have these conversations that society don't want to have and that we're not comfortable having. So
right.
it's a 5-plan step that you can use to guide your interaction with someone if you're concerned and wondering about if they're having trouble.
Well, I don't want to put you on the spot, and we know this is not the training, but what are those 5 steps in this mental health first aid? I just love that because we got people, I'm sure, already typing in the chat as we're speaking right now. Want to know what those 5 steps, and you may as well get ready, Sister Bettina. You know that while they're watching this, they're going to be inboxing us at info@hopenbc.com and asking us about our mental health first aid training. So what are those 5 things, and can you give us some updates about what that training, the training opportunities?
Well, the 5 things are: you want to assess the person, make sure that they're not suicidal or that they're not planning on harming themselves or others. Then you want to listen non-judgmentally, then give reassurance and information, then encourage them to apply for professional help, and also to seek those self-supporting kinds of activities and other information that might be of assistance to them. It's called ALGE, ALGEE.
ALGEE.
That's the way to remember it. Yes.
All right. Okay.
And in terms of trainings, I know that they do offer online trainings now. So I am looking into that to see that hopefully before the end of this month, maybe around the 28th or something, that we may be able to offer a workshop. Okay.
So the time that you'll be hearing this, we'll have more information. So I look into the chat, and Sister Bettina, one of our colleagues, will type it in, and we know that you'll be excited about participating in this training. Well, Sister Bettina, we have discussed quite a bit. Wow, I've really been enlightened about mental health in our church families and our congregation. Is there anything else you wish to share with us today?
Well, I just wanted to say that to those that are listening, that there are many ways that a congregation can begin or expand its ministry to help persons with mental aid and their families. Starting out with something as simple as education, making sure that you have pamphlets and stuff around your church so that people that are having issues, you can offer them that information. Have resources there that are available that you can share with them. Be willing to commit to starting a program and going through with that program, having a conversation with the people about and providing those resources and other information. But most of all, and most important, to be welcoming and be supportive.
And B, what was the last thing you said now?
Supportive.
Oh, supportive. Y'all heard that? See, that was Satan there coming in. She was going good on a video. I was doing it, but that last thing, I love it. This is what she said, National NBC USA Nation. She said to be supportive. All right. So thank you so much, Sister Bettina. As always, you're just a blessing to be a part of our ministry. And for those that are watching today in the chat, we'll be interacting. Again, you can email us at info@hopenbc.com for training opportunities. Once again, thank you so much, Sister Bettina. All right. Okay, NBC USA Nation, we've been blessed with this first part of our session today. Now we are ready to transition into this part 2 of today's webinar. But before we do that, we're going to go in and share something about our newest initiative that we have. That's our All of Us research program. Our convention president, Dr. Jerry Young, recently announced that your NBC USA Hope Health Ministry was awarded a major grant from the National Institutes of Health. The grant is for 5 years, and it's to allow us to do outreach, education, and enrollment activities for the All of Us research program. As you can see behind me, their logo, be 1 in a million for a better future. And what we're doing is working with other groups all across the country to enroll 1 million or more people into studies about health research. We want you to know, look, we've heard the stories in the past about Henrietta Lacks and what happened down in Tuskegee. We want you to know that this effort is for us, by us. We were involved in the launch of it. This is one of the initiatives, the last initiative of former President Barack Obama. We have had researchers that have been part of the process of designing it. There's a person of color that directs the outreach part of this. And really what it's all about is not always about what makes you sick, but it also talks about, more importantly, what makes us well. And I share this, the power of this initiative is that once we go through and get these folks enrolled and we look at the data, look at what makes us tick, we'll be able for the first time to look at a person, say, that's 55 and weighs 200 pounds. And it seems that they're going to need, for a period of time, some high blood pressure medication. So instead of doing what the doctor normally does, trying different medications, trying different doses to see if they work, and all the while, you know, when you're taking those, come on, I got some witnesses out there, you're getting sick, sometimes you have to run to the ER. Instead of going through all of that, through this process, we'll be able to have what we call precision medicine, to pinpoint based upon your unique profile, your unique genome, what's going to work best for you. And for some of us who are older, maybe the results won't end up working to help us, but it'll help our children, our grandchildren, our great-grandchildren. And for the National Baptist, we're excited because this initiative will have probably the largest database of people with sickle cell disease or the sickle cell trait. We know that sickle cell disease has been around for more than 100 years. There's not a whole lot of treatments and medication for it, as in other diseases. You know, for that matter, HIV/AIDS now pretty much has a number of medications that make it basically a chronic disease, and it gets to the point where you basically have no signs of it. So we're hoping that we would join in and look at that and make it a part of our effort. To find more information, come on, inbox. For those that are watching on social media, you can inbox us. You can email us at info at hopenbc.com. And we'd be more than happy to share more information about it and get you started. Come on and be with us on our Hope team and be 1 in a million for a better future. All right. Wow. Were not we blessed from hearing from Sister Bettina Campbell? She certainly provided us valuable information, and I certainly hope that you'll follow up. And there in the chat, she's providing information about mental health first aid training. Now we prepare for part 2 of today's webinar. We're fortunate to talk about physical fitness and mental health, and we have as our panelist, Sister Nettie Johnson. She is NCHEC Certified Health Education Specialist. She's the CEO of Education for Transformation. And we are so happy, glad that she's for the National Physical Fitness Coordinator for the NBC USA Incorporated Hope Health Ministry. We're so fortunate also to have amongst our team members a Robert Wood Johnson Foundation Cultural Health Leader, a cohort member. All right, Sister Nettie. She's a part of the American Council on Exercise as a certified health coach. She's a weight management specialist. She's part of the Road Runners Club of America, where she's a certified running coach, and part of the National Exercise Trainers Association, where she's a certified bar instructor. She is creator and director of our very own Let's Move National Baptist, her Pew to Pavement and Temple Care Cooking, congregational and community wellness programs. And lest I not neglect the most important part for us, National Baptist, she is a member of a National Baptist Convention USA Incorporated Church, the New Hope Baptist Church in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, where the pastor is none other than Dr. Leo D. Cyrus, one of my mentors. And of course, she wants me all reminded she is a member of Delta Sigma Theta sorority. She reminds us at all times to learn better, do better, live better. All right, we're getting ready for our second part of our today's webinar with Sister Nettie Johnson. All right, NBC USA Nation, we've heard from Sister Bettina Campbell, and she shared some wonderful things about mental health first aid, and that was a great presentation. So let's go in a different direction, talking about mental health. And we've already introduced her at the beginning of our session, but we do want to now hear from our National Physical Fitness Coordinator, Miss Nettie Johnson. Hi, Nettie.
Hi, good afternoon. Glad to be here.
All right, look, we're going to talk about physical fitness and mental health. Look, I know it's a little bit different, NBC USA Nation, but we didn't want to do the same old. So just open your minds, your ears, your hearts, and hear what Sister Nettie has to say about mental health and physical fitness. All right, so Sister Nettie, the impact on physical health is well known. But what impact, if any, does exercise have on mental health?
Yeah, that's a good question. You know, mental illness is real, and it is often undiagnosed. As a matter of fact, they say that 60% of US adults have some kind of mental illness condition, don't even get treatment for that. And it's almost up to 40% for young people. So it's undiagnosed, and those that are diagnosed often do not get treated. So this is a very real issue, and I appreciate, Dr. Minor, you're lifting this for the National Baptist to talk about today. Well, when we talk about treatments, there are a couple of things. Of course, we know about psychotherapy, about therapy. For some, medication therapy is also in line, but there also is a benefit that can be connected with exercise as it relates to mental health. And that way it happens has to do with what's going on in our brain as well as with our hormones. When we exercise, we get increased blood flow to the brain. So it's going to impact the limbic system, which has to do with our motivation and our mood. It hits the amygdala, which is the seat of our stress handling area, that flight or flight part of the brain, as well as the hippocampus, which has to do also with mood and motivation, but it also has to do with memory. So when we exercise, a lot is going on in the body, yes, with losing weight, with cardiovascular fitness, with bone health, but it's also going on in our brain, okay? And so we can have some benefits when we exercise for mental health through not only the increased blood flow to these areas of the brain that help us with cognition, decision-making, processing stress, and the like. We get the release of endorphins, which is a feel-good hormone. Have you ever heard of that concept of a runner's high? Yeah, when you get into something and it's wonderful and it's real. It's real. So it gets the release of endorphins. It can also, interestingly, increase the levels of serotonin, dopamine, and norepinephrine. Now, these, like in medications, they help us to feel better. So they've actually found that in some instances, this natural release of these particular substances in our body naturally has been, in some cases, as effective as medication therapy for some individuals that are suffering with certain types of mental conditions.
Wow, NBC USA Nation, did you hear that? We need to get out there and start running more. Well, you know what? So what are some of the, you kind of touched on, what are some of the mental health conditions that exercise can help?
Sure. So, well, first of all, it can lift our mood. I mean, have you ever had a time when you were just feeling just stressed, or maybe you were grieved, or maybe you were anxious about something, and you just did something physical that caused your body to move and it lifted your spirits as well? Certainly it can do that. It can increase your mood. It can help us to handle stress. There are many studies that regular activity can help with the management of chronic pain. And it can also help with chronic disease. But here's some specific conditions that exercise has been found to be a helpful therapy for. It can help with depression, with anxiety, with eating disorders, with bipolar disorder, schizophrenia. It can be helpful with some addictions, grief, relationship problems, even dementia and personality disorders. So there's a widespread where there is evidence-based data supporting the efficacy of exercise as a support in some of these conditions.
Wow. Okay. You heard it here, NBC USA Nation. All right. Well, Sister Nettie, a lot of people suffer from I call it the down in the dumps, those valley days where they're really depressed. Well, what can exercise do to help us when we're depressed? And look, I said, when we're depressed, we all go through those down times. So don't play with us with it. We all have those down times.
Yeah. Well, we all have sometimes what we call situational depression, but then there is also a diagnosis of depression. And we can also, for the purposes of this conversation, put anxiety in there as well. And when we think about depression as a diagnosis, it's very common. As a matter of fact, 1 out of 10 people suffer from depression. Okay. But what we have found is that exercise is a really good addition to your treatment plan for depression. And it goes back to, first, they really do point to those endorphins that I mentioned a little bit earlier. They're like cannabis-like substance. They literally can lift your mood, can lift your mental condition. It also is found to be helpful because it gives you a diversion. When you're exercising, it can take your attention and your focus and your energy off of the worries that we have so often when we're caught in that particular moment. It's also helpful because for people that may have depression, exercise can help us to gain confidence, and it can help us to gain self-efficacy. Often when an individual is depressed, there's this down feeling, this down view of self, this inability to want or to think you can do anything. And just the ability to take those steps, to do this movement, it increases confidence and self-efficacy, which has been a positive treatment as it relates to depression. And the other thing about it, particularly, is if you pick an exercise that is safely done in a peer group, considering all that is going on with COVID, the social interactions are so incredibly important. Often when people are depressed, they close in, they shut down, they isolate. And they're found in many studies where individuals have had some medical or depressive issues where they were getting a treatment and putting them in these group activities, be it like a group exercise, a group bike ride. Team sports have been found to be extremely helpful. So just getting together and playing a game of basketball or something like that, even the social interactions have been helpful. So anything like walking, running, lifting weights, boxing, all of these kinds of sports that can be very helpful as it relates to managing depression.
All right, to lift us up out those valleys. Okay. All right. What are some of the common roadblocks to exercising for mental and or physical health?
Yeah, well, I like that you put the physical health part in there as well. And first, let's just do with the mental aspect and just kind of start off that a lot of times people are not aware that exercise is a very viable addition to a treatment plan when you're dealing with mental health. So sometimes there's just a lack of awareness to do that. And then when we get into some of the other barriers, those go across the board. The most common barriers that people have that they report for physical activity is, first of all, saying that we don't have time, right? The second one is that we don't have energy, right? And then the last one is that we don't have motivation. So to kind of just, to look at it, we get it. Everybody is busy. I love what you say, Dr. Minor, when you say your to-do list has a to-do list. You're just busy on top of busy. And it can be sometimes hard to fit in activity in a regular manner. No energy. When we sometimes have mental conditions, mental illness conditions, it does affect our physical energy level. And sometimes we just don't feel that we have energy for it. And the interesting thing is activity actually can beget energy. So we have to put in some energy, and it fires up our mitochondria, and it actually can give us energy on the other side. So there's that benefit there. And then the last one is a lack of motivation. And again, that is a very mental thing. And it's interesting that in order to get help in these areas, we have to attack it in that area.
Well, that brings a question. So how do we overcome these roadblocks? And I reflect that the NBC USA Nation, we're missing out. we have some things that we're doing as a denomination that will help us too. So kind of enlighten us on overcome these roadblocks.
Sure. Well, as it comes to the time, the first thing is we have to realize that we can't make time. We say as soon as I make time, we can't make it. God gives everybody the same 24 hours if he allows us to wake up on that good morning. So the thing is to allot the time, to block it out. I say to not only set it aside, but to protect it, because it is an act of self-care. And that self-care is actually an act of temple care. And the thing is that we don't have to chunk it or try to do it all at once. You know, if you look at the physical activity guidelines, and they say it's 150 minutes per week, which really is not that much when you divide it down by day. But sometimes if you feel I don't have an hour or a half an hour, even 10-minute bursts here and there can be very helpful. There are a lot of things that can help us. Setting a timer on your phone to say, you know, every so many hours or so to click up and just to remind yourself to do something, or set an appointment with yourself for yourself to do that. So it's not finding the time, it's allotting the time. I say devoting the time. And actually, I also tend to recommend that people connect it also with the spiritual act, so that we're doing physical and spiritual. A lot of times when you walk, you might want to walk and pray, or listen to some gospel music, or work on memorizing scriptures, some of these things that feeds your soul while you're actually doing something to help your body and lift your mental spirits. The energy part is sometimes, y'all, sometimes we just got to do. Sometimes it's just the starting of it. I work a lot with people in walking and running, and sometimes that first couple of minutes is the worst. I mean, I can think of times when people have run half marathons, which is 13 miles, and they'll say the hardest is usually not the end, it's that first mile or two, that getting started until your body starts to get into the movement. So when you don't have energy, it's just get yourself started. And again, your body will respond with the mitochondria. As it relates to motivation, sometimes we need to pull it from other people. And this is one of the things that we're really excited about, that we're going to be continuing in this upcoming year. And it's a previous program called Let's Move National Baptist. That's it. Let's move. And what this is a program where we're just coming together as a collaborative. We're encouraging people in National Baptist Convention churches all across the nation to find your fit, be consistent with it, and to move our bodies, because God made our bodies to move. And we're going to be providing information and supports and tracking and collaboration to help. So if motivation is definitely a challenge, come on and connect with us and let us help you with that.
Wow. So National Baptist, be on the lookout for it, and go to our Hope Facebook page, on the Parent Body Facebook page, hear more about it, so we can let's move National Baptist. With continuation of what former First Lady Michelle Obama started in the Obama administration. Well, look, as always, Nettie, time is upon us, but we've covered a lot of ground. Is there anything else that you want to share before we end this segment?
Sure. Again, thank you, Dr. Miner and Sister Campbell, for lifting this very important topic. It is very important that we approach health from a holistic standpoint. That's body, that's mind, and soul. And so I'm very excited that we're taking a look at this. And the last thing that I just want to say, y'all, is that please, these times that we take for ourselves, to take care of ourselves, please, self-care is not selfish. It is essential. It is temple care. And it is part of how we can honor God by the care and nurturing of our bodies.
All right. Once again, thank you, Sister Nettie Johnson, our National Physical Fitness Coordinator. Thank you so much for your work. Especially doing things for us at the National Baptist Convention USA Incorporated. All right. Thank you. Okay, everybody. So this concludes this section. So now we get ready to get to our epilogue. This was a great session. Sister Campbell and Sister Johnson did an outstanding job. Sister Campbell gave us some eye-opening statistics about mental health prevalence in our society, and shared about how we can spot the signs of mental health distress in our congregations. Sister Johnson showed the tight connection between exercise and mental health. In this pandemic, many of us are not exercising as much as we used to or need to. She has challenged us to get moving in BCUSA Nation. I really love the idea about mental health first aid training. And that's why I've asked my wife, the First Lady of our congregation, the Hill Hernando in Hernando, Mississippi, to come and, I know, get on my case a little bit about this when it comes to pastors and mental health. Lottie.
All right. Thank you for inviting me this evening. And I am going to get on your case a little bit, and as well as all the pastors across the country who are part of our convention, who we love, and we want to keep you all healthy. So here's my question to you. What about the pastor's mental health? Sister Bettina and Sister Nettie have given us great information about how congregations can become healthier, but who intervenes for the pastors, the leaders?
Wow, those are great questions. We pastors are good at telling others to take care of themselves, but we don't follow our own advice. We even ignore our number one Trinity Wilson supporters, our spouses. I guess my summary to your questions is that we pastors don't take care of our mental health, and you first ladies should be number one on the list to intervene.
Absolutely. We are your biggest cheerleaders. Absolutely. So thank you. Thank you for that information. I think that understanding mental health and wellness in general begins with recognizing or admitting that we need to make steps to make ourselves healthier. So that is something that we all can do. We can look after our own well-being, body, mind, and spirit.
Well, since we're talking here, what are some things you think we pastors should be doing for our own mental health?
Good question. I think it's all about mental health self-care. Every pastor needs a pastor. That's someone you can discuss important church issues with. I think from the outside looking in, it appears to me that has been particularly important during the pandemic. Having someone who else, another person who's spiritually minded, who you can bounce ideas off of. And I enjoyed hearing the dialogue. And I think the same thing is true with pastor spouses. If we're really going to practice mental health self-care, we've got to have a sister or a brother in Christ who we can talk to openly, and we know that person will give us honest advice when needed, will provide a listening ear if that's all that we need. And of course, we certainly want their prayers and their encouragement. Another thing is that as pastor spouses, when we look at the issue of mental health and mental wellness, and we know that sometimes is a taboo word in our churches, but everybody has mental health. It's just like physical health. It's part of our whole body, part of our whole being. So we've got to recognize that in dealing with mental health, mental wellness, real time off is very important. Letting our minds rest, getting off the technology for a minute, putting down the cell phone or the iPad or the desktop or the laptop or the online Bible or whatever the case may be, putting all of that down for a minute and resting your mind, having time to unwind mentally. Another thing that is helpful, Sister Nettie talked about exercise. Keep that exercise in mind. And it doesn't have to be major things. I know she said that already. It could be something as simple as walking around your church campus just to relax your mind and get away from behind the desk, or walking around your yard. Those types of things make a positive difference in our mental attitude. It allows us to clear our mind. And then when we return to our Bible study or our administrative work or counseling sessions or whatever the task may be, we're going to be clearer and more ready to handle the task at hand.
Well, you know what? Well, I thank God for my fathers in the ministry, my pastor, Pastor W.T. Reynolds, and then for my late uncle, Pastor Gerald W. Minor Sr. They've been very helpful. They've been great sounding boards and resources throughout the years of my pastoring. Yes, I take walks. I walk around the house. A lot after I eat a meal. I'm quick to walk around the house and see the squirrels, even those pesky squirrels, the birds, the trees there, the nature. See the crazy folks on the golf course and with their sometimes the balls right over in their yard. Just those things to get my mind at ease. And even here at the church, when you're talking about our church campus, just walking around, there's even more things to see, including all these toads that are out there. So, and you know what I end up finding, Lottie, is that as I'm walking, I find myself just easing into nature, and I'm just having a talk with God, just friend to friend. And it's just very relaxing. Sometimes I hate to even come back inside. I'm just so at ease.
Wonderful. So you shared with us about your pastor and about the importance that he and other seasoned ministers, the important role that they played in helping you be successful, and of course helping you stay mentally healthy by providing a sounding board and a prayer partner and a listening ear. And you've talked about how just having a little taste of physical fitness, something as simple as walking around, has been very helpful in mental wellness for you. So now I want to talk to pastor spouses, to the first ladies. Ladies, we have a vested interest, a personal vested interest in the mental wellness of pastors, because they lead not only our churches, but they lead us in our homes. We live with them every day. We see them at their best, at their highest points. We also see them at their lowest points. And we want them, we need them to be all that they can be mentally, so that they can be the best spouses, the best fathers, the best pastors they can be. We already know sometimes they carry the weight of the world on their shoulders. So I'm so happy that when this segment was put together, somebody thought enough to take some time to specifically talk about the mental health of the men of God who lead us.
All right. And no, we're not going to forget the women of God too.
Amen.
All right. And I just thank you. I just thank you for just caring about me so I can be around a little while longer.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We want all of our pastors to be well, to be Trinity well, mind, body, and spirit.
And you know, it's not lost on me that NBC USA Nation, when Lottie started rattling off the titles, pastor wasn't the first one. She talked about being a husband, a spouse, and then a father. I think sometimes we get so caught up, if we're not careful in our church work, we forget those two most important things. Mm-hmm. So thank you, Lottie, very much.
You're very welcome. Very welcome.
You shared a message for all of our first spouses, and we hope that you will take that to heart. So thanks again, and for this segment.
Thank you, everybody. We hope we were helpful.
Well, we certainly hope that you enjoyed this added bonus. We thought that it was important for us to spend some time to talk about the mental health of our leaders, our pastors. We certainly hope that you found it helpful, and we have shared some additional resources on our H.O.P.E page. So look, go to our H.O.P.E page, hopenbc.com, hopenbc.com. There's some great resources there from today's, to support today's webinar about mental health. And we also have things about sickle cell disease, because this is Sickle Cell Disease Awareness Month, the month of September. And we want you to also look at the information that we have about our newest initiative of All of Us research program. And while you're there, you can go down to the bottom and click on our Facebook icon and go to our Facebook page, National Baptist Convention USA Incorporated H.O.P.E Health Initiative. Every day we have our daily Bible reading. We have our mental health moment of the day. We have other posts that we share that many of you across our denomination, our conventions, our association, our churches share. And we do appreciate, we appreciate the feedback you give us and sharing about how helpful these posts have been. So thank you, thank you, thank you. We're also on Twitter. That's at @H.O.P.E_NBC_USA. And we're on the YouTube. Our YouTube channel is NBC USA H.O.P.E. Of course, we would appreciate your feedback. So we're now pasting to the chat a link to our webinar survey. So would you kindly complete it? As my Our late godfather always remind me, the biggest room there is the room for improvement. So just take a moment. I want to take you a moment to complete that. We're also excited about our team, our Hope team. And as we go and share the names of our team, the work and highlight the work that they've been doing, we want to pause to give our continued condolences to Dr. Desi Levy, one of our dear team members, in the transition of her husband, Dr. Gary Levy, who's not only a husband, a pastor, he's one of our convention presidents and a national board member of the National Baptist Convention USA Incorporated. We certainly will continue to lift up them in our prayers. But our team, yours truly, Michael O'Miner, Lottie Miner, Pastor Bernard Montgomery, Bettina Campbell, Pastor Dexter Moraney, Ellen McKnight, Dr. Felisa Washington, Minister Geraldine Moore, Linda Copper, Loretta Miller, Dr. Lavora Williams, Nettie Johnson, Dr. Marion Talley, and Thomas Duke Robinson. We also tonight, I would like to share this information about the newest part of our work with the National Institutes of Health. We've been trying for some time, but we finally have it. We have our regions now up and going. And our regional footprint follows the same footprint as the parent body, except in the Southwest, because it was so large, we divided up into two parts, Southwest 1 and Southwest 2. And we do have some regional coordinators who are busy at work getting things up and going. And so we want to start up in the Northeast, and our newest team member, Reverend Daniel Blackburn. He's our coordinator for the Northeast, and you see those states right above me there. All right, and then to the Southeast, Sister Brooklyn Rogers. All right, well, Reverend Blackburn is right there in Beacon, New York, and Sister Brooklyn is there in Tampa. All right, in Southwest 1. All right, that's Pastor Bernard Montgomery, just named him, but he's also our regional coordinator for Southwest 1. And then for Southwest 2, I also named her previously Linda Copper, Sister Linda Copper. She's there in Houston. Pastor Montgomery is in South Haven, Mississippi, which is Memphis, Tennessee. And then in the Midwest, Teresa Fields. She's located there in the Metro Detroit area. All right. Then in the West, we have Sister Norma Jackson. She's in Colorado Springs, Colorado. And finally, in the far West, Pastor Richmond Johnson. He's there in the Metro Spokane area. So look, they'll be reaching out to you. They'll be wanting to connect with you as we try to do everything that we can to connect you with what your Hope Health Ministry is doing. Look, our president's vision is moving our convention to a denomination. And we do what we can to help you, your state convention, your association, your church, to get a vibrant health ministry. To help you identify resources, there are many resources available at the regional, state, and local level. I'm going to work with you to make sure that we can do what we can to help you to maximize those resources available to you. All right, so again, welcome aboard to all of our regional coordinators and all of our team members. And finally, we want to remind everybody again that we'll be reaching out to you about the All of Us Research Program and want you to come and be a part of a 1 in a million. So we'll be reaching out to you and providing you information, answering the question you may have so we can be a success for this over the next 5 years. In the Lord good. All right. But once again, we acknowledge our president, Dr. Jerry Young. Remember, he reminds us to envision the future exceptionally. This has been a presentation of the National Baptist Convention USA Incorporated, the nation's largest Black denomination. God bless and God keep you is our prayer.